Namaskar students, welcome to the virtual class. Students, in the previous episode, we have seen about the Indian economic development and the developmental activity which has taken by the government of India through various economic reforms. So in that episode, what we have seen that how the government have taken the new economic reform that has been called as what NEP, the new economic policy of 1991, and in that one, how the program of LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization, by implementing these economic strategies in our economy, how the economy got into the developmental track and how we could able to increase our GDP. So despite of increase in the GDP of our country have suffered from a major serious economic and a social problem that has been called as what? Poverty, जिसे बच्चों हम निर्धनता कहते हैं। तो इतने सारे नीतियां अपनाने के बावजूद भी हमारे देश में जो निर्धनता की जो समस्याएं हैं ये हमारी आज़ादी से पहले और आज़ादी के बाद भी इस समस्या को देखा जा रहा है। So students, today in this episode we will study about the concept of poverty, and we will study how the problem of poverty is prevailing in our country and how we can determine or how we can identify the people and we can categorize the people into poor and non-poor. What are the elements and what are the instruments are being used to measure the poverty? And after that, we'll study about the causes, the reasons behind the existence of poverty in our country, and how this poverty is being eliminated by the government's program. So students, listen carefully. So first of all, we see about the concept of poverty. What do you mean poverty? So what is poverty? Poverty refers to the situation of non-fulfillment of the basic needs of the life. That means when we talk about the basic requirement or basic minimum need of a person, that includes the food, shelter, and cloth. And nowadays we have the basic requirement of education and health. So when a person who is living in a country and he is deprived of these facilities, so that person may be identified as a poor. So he is living under the condition of poverty. So that was the minimum strategy or minimum element which are being used as the instrument to identify a poor. So students, here when we talk about the concept of poverty, so that poverty can be studied in two variant, that is in two categories, that has been divided as the relative poverty and the absolute poverty. So what do you mean by relative poverty? Relative poverty refers to the different classes or the different income level of the people in the various region and various country, irrespective of caste, religion, and the other social conditions. When these people are deprived from these minimum basic requirements of their life to survive, so that is being called as what? Poverty, that is relative poverty, where it is being measured in terms of what? The inequality between the distribution of income between these people. So in a country where we can see that some portion of people are living in a very high standard of living, whereas at the same country we can see that some portion of people are still deprived of these basic needs of their life. So in that one, the relative poverty has been studied on the basis of the inequality between the distribution of income among the people. Whereas when you talk about the absolute poverty, so the absolute poverty can be measured in terms of what? A term called poverty line. The government, the governments of different countries have defined their own the instrument for measuring the poverty as a poverty line. So in absolute poverty, when we define a poor or a poverty, the concept poverty, so it is being explained in terms of what? The intake of calories and the level of income or the consumption expenditure, the expenditure done by a person during a month. So students, in India, a person who's living in rural area and he is spending 816 rupees on his consumption, and at the same time when a person who's living in urban area and he's spending rupees 1000 as his consumption per month, so these consumption expenditure, that is 816 for a rural person and 1000 rupees for a urban person is being treated as the person below poverty line. So based on the consumption expenditure of the people, we can categorize them as poor and the non-poor. So here the uh, based on the data, the new poverty line data during the year 2011 to 12, according to this data, so the person who is living in rural area, he will spend, if he is spending less than 816 rupees in rural area and rupees 1000 in the urban area, will be considered as the below poverty line. So one more category we have, or one more parameter we have here, where with the help of this parameter we can also categorize the people as below poverty line and above poverty line. So based on the intake of calories, the people can be categorized into below poverty line and above poverty line. So students, when you talk about the intake of calories, so here the average intake of calories of people who are living in a rural area should be 2435 calories. Those who are living in a rural area. Whereas it is estimated for the urban people as the 2045 calories as the average intake of food in their daily life. So students, by estimating the average intake of the average calories intaken by the people who are living in rural and urban areas, we can categorize them into below poverty and above poverty line. So these are the some parameters which are being utilized by the government to estimate the poor and to identify the poor. So when we identify this poor based on this income, that is the consumption expenditure and the intake of calories. So according to this, on based on the new data given by the government of India during the year 2011-12, nearly 21.9% of our total population is being estimated under the below poverty line. So based on these data, the poverty is being categorized into three categories. So students, look at the table here. So with the help of this table, you can very easily understand the three categories of poverty. The category 1 explains about the chronic poor. So who are chronic poor? Those who are always poor and those who are usually poor. Take an example of landless workers and the casual workers. In category 2, that is transient poor. So who are transient poor? Those who are moving in and out of poverty line. So they are the seasonal workers. And one more thing, that is occasionally poor. And at last we have the third category, that is never poor. So these are categorized as non-poor people. Okay students, now we will have one more question in our mind, that what do you mean by poverty line? How we can explain the poverty line? So poverty line is the cutoff point where it can divide the people of the country into two parts, that is poor and non-poor. So based on this, the cutoff point of the poverty line only, we can divide the people, we can categorize the people into poor and non-poor. So basically it is being estimated in terms of what? The consumption expenditure, that is based on the income of the people. So by this way, we can explain that the poverty line is the parameter, or it is the cutoff point which is being determined by the government, or it is a mechanism where we can divide the people, we can categorize the people into poor and non-poor. So based on that, look at one more table. With this table, you can very easily identify how the people in the society, people in the country, they are being divided into different categories. So students, look at the diagram given here. Here we have a dark line, that indicates the poverty line. On the right side of this poverty line, these people are being categorized as poor, and the other side is being categorized as the non-poor. So again, when we divide these poor people into a category as three categories, that is absolutely poor, very poor, and poor. And when we look at the non-poor sections, the non-poor side, that first it starts from where? The not so poor, then we have the middle class. So based on the increase in the income of these people, the categories, uh, they are being categorized in different ways. So starting from not so poor, then moving to middle class, then upper middle class, then we have the rich, then very rich, and again these people may be categorized into millionaires and billionaires. So students, based on this diagram, you can understand how the people are being categorized in a country based on their income and the consumption expenditure. So now one more question again comes to mind, that how these people are being categorized and how the poor are being identified. So how we can identify the poor people? So before independence, Dadabhai Naroji was the first person to discuss about the concept of poverty, and he had explained about some sort of the mechanism, the instruments, or we can say the parameter from which we can measure the poverty, or we can estimate the number of poor in our country. So students, after independence, the government have made several attempts to work out a mechanism to identify the number of poor. So in that one, the government have taken some steps. So in the year 1962, Planning Commission formed a study group. And again in the year 1979, a task force on projection of minimum need and effective consumption demand. And again in the year 1989 and 2005, an expert group were established to identify the number of poor in our country. So students, through these ways, the government have tried to identify the number of poor in our country. So based on that, look at the table here. Here we have the data about the number of poor people in our country. So look at the table and the graph carefully. So when we look at the table, in the year 1960 to 61, the number of poor in our country was 17 crore. That is, when we compared in terms of percentage of poor in the total population, it is 34 percentage. And when we move ahead, in the year 1964 to 65, we had 22 crores of people under poverty. That is, the 46 percentage of the total population was in the poor, and gradually that percentage used to increase in the year 1970 to 71, 73 to 74, and 79 to 80. We can see that the percentage increases from 45 to 46, then to 48 percentage. And later on, the year 1869, the total population in the terms of poverty, the poor, the number have decreased to 27 crore. That is 34% of the total population. And look at the data carefully. With the latest data given by the Economic Survey in the 2013-14 and the Planning Commission's report, in the year 2011 to 12, we had nearly 26.93 crore people under poor or the poverty. So that gives the contribution of 21.9% of total population is under poverty. So even you can look at this table given in the graph. So how the poverty graph, the poverty line graph, starting from 1962 to in the year 2012 is given here. We had a gradual rise from the period of 1960 to 80, and after that we can witness some sort of a decrease in the number of poor in our country. So based on the economic survey report of 2013 and 14, nearly now we have 21.9% of our total population is under poverty line. So students, after seeing this, now we will study about the causes. What are the reasons? What are the factors which are responsible for the poverty in our country? So students, now we see some factors which are responsible for the causes of poverty in our country. First one is low level of national product. That is, the net national product of India is miserably low compared to its size of population. Second one, low rate of growth. The rate of growth of economy has been quite low during 5-year plans in India. During the period of planning, the growth rate of GDP was nearly 5%. Then pressure, that is heavy pressure of population. The population has been trending up at rapid pace. This rise is mainly due to rapid fall in the death rate. The growth rate of population was 1% in 1941 to 51 and 2.1% in 1991 to 2001. So the India's population was 84.63 crore in 1991 and to 121 crore in 2011. Then we have the problem of inflationary spiral. Owing to low GDP growth and high growth rate of population, less developed economies like India are vulnerable to the inflationary spiral. This means a situation of persistent rise in the prices. Then chronic unemployment and underemployment. India is a country sustaining chronic unemployment and underemployment. Poverty is just a reflection of unemployment. Then capital deficiency. Capital is one of the principal drivers of economic growth. The accumulation of capital points to rise in the production capacity of a nation. Unfortunately, capital stocks and the capital formation continue to be highly deficient. Then outdated social institutions. The social structure of our country is full of outdated traditions and institutions like caste system and joint family system. Such tradition and institution obstructs dynamic changes in the economy. So the growth rate is hampered and poverty is sustained. Then lack of infrastructure. Energy, transport and communication, the vital components of economic infrastructure as well as education, health and housing service, the principal component of social infrastructure are grossly deficient. So students, after studying about the causes of poverty, the factors responsible for the poverty in our country, now we'll see the measures taken by the government to eradicate the poverty, to eradicate poverty from our country. So when we study about the eradication of poverty policy or the measures taken by the government, that can be divided into four categories, or we can say that the four main important steps which are being taken by the government to eradicate the poverty. First is what? That is combating the poverty through GDP growth. So here we'll see how with the help of GDP, the government tried to eradicate the poverty. So here the government tried to improve or increase the GDP growth in our country. So when the government aims to increase the GDP growth, it aims to increase the level of employment and to increase the distribution of income among the people. So through the developmental activities, when the government aims to increase the employment by the development activities, that increase the income of the people. So by accelerating the GDP growth, the government tried to increase the level of income, the income earned by the people. So by increasing the level of income of the people, what it can do, it can very easily eradicate the poverty. So that was the first and foremost thing which is taken by the government to eradicate the poverty. Second step, that is combating the poverty with the help of distribution of income. So here, by the distribution of income, which is done through two activities, that is by the fiscal policy and by the legislative policy. So when we talk about the fiscal policy, here in fiscal policy, taxation was the main instrument which has been utilized by the government to mechanize the distribution of income in the people, in the economy. So here in the taxation, we know that through the way of direct and indirect taxes and through the way of subsidies. So by giving more subsidies and by reducing the direct taxes, what the government can help to increase the level of income among the people. So what here the government have done, the government has gradually decreased the burden of the direct taxes on the people. So when the burdens are being reduced by decreasing the direct taxes, what happen? It increases the expenditure, it increases the consumption expenditure of the people. So when the people will pay less tax and they have more amount in their hand for their expenditure, what will happen? That will enable them to satisfy their basic needs. And apart from reducing the direct taxes, the government have also given more subsidies on the necessity goods. So by giving subsidies on these commodities, on these necessity goods, it helped the poor people to consume more. So that was one of the important steps taken in the fiscal policy of the government, where the government tried to eradicate or government tried to combat with the problem of poverty. And with the help of legislation measure, here the government tried to fix the minimum wage rate. So by the way of minimum wage act, so by this act, here the employers are compelled to adopt the policies of fixing the minimum wage rate for the employees. So even these minimum wage rates are being announced by the government. So by this way, government tried to eradicate the problem of poverty in the economy. And one more thing, through the way of act, that is Right to Education Act. So by this act, it have given a guarantee to the poor people, the poor section of the people, to have a basic education from the age of 6 to 14 years. So by the act of right to education, the children of the poor sections, they are given a free and compulsory education. So by imparting education to all the people in the society, what happen? It will gradually increase the income level of the people by making them self-sufficient and by making them educated. So these are the some fiscal and legislative measures taken by the government to eradicate the poverty. Then the third one, the government tried to combat the problem of poverty with the help of controlling population. You know that we stand second position in terms of the total population in the world. Even we are the seventh position in the area, the total area of our country compared with the all the countries in the world. Though we are seventh in the area, but in terms of population we are second in the world. So we are having a overburden of populations. So when the economy is having a overburden of population, here the government have tried to adopt many policies to control the population. So by controlling the total population, the growth of population in a country, the government tried to eradicate the poverty. And students, apart from that, the other measures which are taken by the government to enhance the quality of living of the people is by increasing the agriculture, by developing the agriculture, by stabilizing the prices, and by providing employment and eradicating the unemployment problem in the country, and by making them self-sufficient by self-employment, and through effective public distribution system, that is PDS. So by this the government have tried to increase or enhance the life of the poor people. So these are the measures which are being taken by the government to eradicate the poverty in our country. Okay, students, at last we will see about the programs or the remedies which are being adopted by the government to eradicate the poverty. Or we can say the poverty alleviation programs which are being run by the government. So now we will have some list of the programs which are being adopted by the government during the 5-year plan to remove the poverty from our country. Okay, students, now we will see some measures adopted by the government to remove poverty or the poverty alleviations programs. So first of all, we have the Swarna Jayanti Gram Sarojgar Yojana, that is SGSY. To remove poverty from the rural areas, the new programs was launched in the villages in April 1999. It was known as Swarna Jayanti Gram Sarojgar Yojana. It replaced the earlier program like Integrated Rural Development Program IRDP and Training Rural Youth for Self-Employment, it is TRYSEM, etc. Next one, that is the National Rural Livelihood Mission, that is in short we call it as NRLM. This scheme is also known as Ajivika. In the first phase, this scheme is being implemented in 150 districts in the year 2012 to 13. This scheme will be expanded in another 150 districts by 2014 to 15, and by the end of 2016 to 17, this scheme will be extended to whole of India. By the end of 2016-17, NRLM is expected to provide self-employment to 90 lakh persons. And third one, Sampoorna Gramin Rojgar Yojana, that is SGRY. The Sampoorna Gramin Rojgar Yojana was launched on 1st September 2001. Jawahar Gramin Samriddhi Yojana and Employment Assurance Scheme were integrated into a single Yojana. The main objective of this Yojana to provide employment opportunity to the surplus workers and to focus on the development of regional, economic and social conditions and to focus on the development of infrastructure. Then we have the Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana, that is PGY. It was launched in the year 2001. It aims at improving the standard of living of rural people by developing 5 important areas, that is health, primary education, drinking water, housing and the roads. Then the fifth one, we have the Prime Minister's Rojgar Yojana. This scheme is for providing employment to educated unemployed. This scheme
provided loans up to 1 lakh for opening his own enterprises and 2 lakhs for other activities. And the sixth one, we have the 20-point programs. A new 20-point economic program was launched on 14th January 1982 with a view to eradicating poverty. This includes increase in irrigation capacity, increased production of pulses and oil seeds, extension of integrated rural development program, and national rural employment program. Fourth one, fixation of ceiling on land holding, minimum wages to the agricultural workers, rehabilitations of bounded labor, expansion of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe programs, drinking water in villages, provision of houses in rural area, improvement of slum area, development of power capacity, development of forest and gobar gas, family planning, setting up primary health centers, welfare program for women and children, primary education for children between 6 to 14 years, expansion of public distribution system and fair price shops, simple industrial policy, checking of generation of black money, and efficiency management of public sector industrial units. And at last, we have one more important scheme which has been launched by the government of India, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is MGNREGS. Under the scheme, all those who are willing to work at the minimum wage rate are offered work for a minimum period of 100 days in a year. Those seeking employment are to be reported in those rural areas where the employment program is being launched. Under the scheme, 3.36 crore households were provided job in the current financial year, that is on 1st January 2016.
So students, that's all for today. I hope you could understood the concept which I studied today, and based on these concepts I have given some homework, and I hope you can do this homework very easily. So note down this homework, and in case of any doubt you can contact us. Okay students, that's all for today. We will meet in the next episode with the concept of human capital formation in India. So until then, keep learning, stay safe, stay alert. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.